All right, welcome everybody to this meeting of the Boston Metropolitan Planning Organization Unified Planning Work Program Committee. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First, read the notice of non-discrimination, which states that you are invited to participate in our transportation planning process, regardless of your race, color, national origin, including limited English proficiency, religion, creed, gender, ancestry, ethnicity, disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, veteran status or background. Next, move to the virtual meeting guidelines, which state that all participants will join the meeting with muted microphones. Please rename yourself to include your last name, your first name, last name, and affiliation. Participants may mute and unmute themselves. Always remain muted unless actively speaking. To participate in the discussion, you can select the raise hand function by either clicking on the participants button at the bottom of the screen, and a window will pop up with a raise hand button, or you can use the reactions button in the toolbar, and the chair will then call on participants. If you are on the phone, you can use *9 to raise your hand. And if you have any technical difficulties, please contact Erin McGuire via the chat box by email at emaguire@ctps.org or by phone at 857-702-3681. The accessibility statement reads that this meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Zoom products are compliant with exceptions with the following standards: web content accessibility guidelines 2.1, level AA standards, and revised section 508 standards. If you require any additional accommodations in order to participate fully in the meeting, please contact Erin McGuire of MPO staff at emaguire@ctps.org or by phone at 857-702-3681. We'll now move to introductions. I have the roll call sheet here, so I'll go ahead and read the roll. My name is Derek Cravat from the MassDOT Office of Transportation Planning. Be chairing the meeting today. I'll just move down the list here. Do we have MAPC? Don't see Eric on. Do we have Arlington? Don't see anyone. City of Boston Transportation Department. Framingham, no. Medway. See City of Newton, David.
Hi, David Kozas, City of Newton, representing Mayor Fuller.
Hi, David. We got the Trick subregion. Steve.
Steve Olenoff representing the Trick subregion.
Great. The Inner Core.
Good afternoon, Tom Bent, representing City of Somerville, the Inner Core, and Mayor Ballantyne.
Great. RTAC.
Leonard Diggins, Chair RTAC here.
Great. And the MBTA Advisory Board.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mara Patterson, representing the MBTA Advisory Board.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Move on to our next item, which is public comments. Is there anyone present that would like to make a public comment at this time? All right. Seeing none. If you do have any comments during the meeting, feel free to use the chat box or use the raise hand function, and we'll be sure to call on you. Move to the next item, which is an action item on the fiscal year 2023 UPWP Amendment 2. I'll turn it over to Sri Lanka to cover the details.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this meeting of the UPWP Committee. I have a short presentation on Amendment 2 to the FY 2023 UPWP, at the end of which I will request a vote to either release your public comment or endorse with waiving the comment period. Next slide, please, Erin. This amendment follows a trend from past years of making budget adjustments in the third quarter of the fiscal year. As you all know, we prepare program budgets around March or April of the previous federal fiscal year, meaning we make predictions about how much money we will need to complete our anticipated work close to 6 months before we begin said work. Between when we make our initial predictions and when work is underway, many factors can affect how much money a program needs to complete its scope of work. In the example you see on the screen of the long-range transportation plan, some work was initially deferred from FFY 2022 into FFY 2023. Additionally, the development of Destination 2050 necessitated the engagement of many more staff members than initially anticipated, coupled with issues of staff attrition. On the other hand, sometimes the program is not fully funded at the beginning of the fiscal year, but over the year, that work takes on a bigger role in the MPO's operation. An example of this is the Climate Resilience Program. When the initial budget for this program was developed around March of 2022, we did not have a full-time resiliency planner on staff. Since then, we have hired Julie Taylor to lead the Climate Resilience Program, as well as an intern to support an expanded scope for this program. Developing a more robust resiliency program necessitated an increase in the program budget from $44,000 to $111,000. For more specific information on which program budgets are changing and their reasoning, please refer to the memo and table posted on the meeting calendar for today. Next slide, please. This amendment has a net zero impact on the overall budget of the UPWP. And I do want to note that just because a program's budget was reduced does not mean that that planned work will not be completed. And nor does it necessarily reflect the MPO's priorities of what is important to do. It most often indicates that the program does not need as much funding as initially projected to complete anticipated work through the end of the year. An example of one such program is performance-based planning and programming. When the initial budget was developed, staff assumed more time for a senior planner that for a variety of reasons did not occur. Since hiring a planner for this program in December, staff have a much better idea of how much money is needed to complete the scoped work for this year. And it was determined that the program did not need as much to complete its work as initially anticipated. So that money has been redistributed. Next slide, please. At this point, I would like to request that this committee vote to waive the 21-day public comment period for this amendment and endorse it today. The reason I am asking you to waive the comment period is that the timing of collecting information on adjustments happens in the third quarter of the year, and we're presenting this amendment at the beginning of the fourth quarter with the most accurate information we have in order for staff to complete their planned work. And if we can waive the comment period today, and if the board chooses to do the same at next week's meeting, staff can utilize their expanded budgets from next Friday onwards, that's August 4th, to successfully complete their scoped work. So that is my presentation for now, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll turn it back to the chair.
Great, thank you, Sri Lanka. Any questions for Sri Lanka?
Leonard here.
Yeah.
You know,
Go ahead, Lynn.
so was the table in the memo? I'm sorry for the background sound. It just got really noisy here. You know, so was the table in the memo?
No, it was posted separately.
So, okay, I just didn't see it in the materials, I mean, on the calendar. Am I just being dense? I mean, or am I missing it?
No, I think it is posted for today.
I mean, so I saw the red line version. I mean, so like, where can I find the red lines in the red line version? Because I mean, I did a quick scan. I just didn't see them.
Do you mean like what information was changed?
Yeah.
So that'll be found for the program descriptions and the tables of those programs, which budgets, whose budgets.
Okay, so in the program area.
Mostly in like
All
chapter.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and now I'm gonna.
Chapter what?
Chapter 3, those were
Chapter
the
Okay,
majority
all
of
right.
them, some chapter.
Okay, I mean, I'm sure I'm fine with things. I'll just be, it's a later reference to me. So, all right, thank you.
Thanks, Len. And Stella just posted in the chat the table that summarizes all of the changes. If folks want to just take a look at that as well. I think that's a good summary of what the changes are. Other questions? Thoughts? Okay, so with respect to the waiving of the comment period, how do folks feel about that? David?
Oh, I'm fine to waive the comment period. I mean, there's not very much that changed. I'm just wondering in general, maybe I should know this, but so staff has no authority to change anything administratively it always would require a meeting and a vote, even sort of small changes. Is that right?
I believe that is correct. Annette, correct me if I'm wrong.
And we set it up that way, or it's required federally?
I think there is a limit, and I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the percentage amount and change in budget that requires an amendment.
25% or more of the total budget.
Right, and so if we're bringing an amendment forward, we do need to bring it to you and then to the board. And I believe even within it, if it were less than that, we would be doing an adjustment, and we still do need to bring it to you and to the board to get approval.
Okay, that's fine. Just trying to make it easier, streamline it if we could, but it seems like we can't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't recall a scenario where it was smaller. I feel like most of the time this happens during the end of the fiscal year when changes kind of accrue throughout the year and things are, underspending, overspending, whatever it might be, and then adjustments need to be made. Or I guess in this case, an amendment, but it helps to roll them up all at once like this, I suppose, and that you can kind of do them all at once. And I mean, in this case, it definitely is an amendment. I agree with David that it's not, it's not a significant change in the actual work, but some of the tasks are changing more than 25%. So it meets that threshold of an amendment for that purpose. So, Steve. Steve,
So
yep.
it seems like there were two comment periods, which I don't think is correct. I mean, why would we have a comment period on our approval and then the MPO has a comment period? Wouldn't they, the comment period be for the MPO and they are the ones that decide whether to waive it or not?
Is the
Yes,
proposal-
and I
All right, go
apologize
ahead.
if, oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I apologize if my wording was unclear. When I think in the public engagement plan, we say that the committee has the authority to vote to waive the comment period and then recommend that the MPO vote to do the same.
But I don't think I think we only recommend that the MPO waive its comment period. We don't necessarily put our comment, well, maybe we do sometimes, but not for an amendment. Do we?
Yeah, so I think it's that the committee has the authority to request that the MPO waive, but since everything, so there is no comment period that goes, first to the committee and then to the board, but because the UPWP, anything for UPWP related goes through the committee, we request that you would do something first and then we would present it to the board to get your approval first.
Right. So I think we are just recommending. No, we're doing two things. We're recommending that the MPO approve the amendment, but we're also recommending that the MPO waive the comment period on it.
Yes.
So you want one or two motions on that? You separate motions?
You can do separate motions just to make it clear.
Yeah. So
That would work,
I move that we recommend to the MPO that they waive the comment period for this amendment.
All right. Is there a second? Len?
I'll second that.
All right, so motion having been made and seconded, are there any comments or questions on that motion? All right, seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mass.otp, I'll vote yes. David Kozis,
David Kozis, yes.
Steve Olenoff,
Steve Olenoff, yes.
Tom Bent,
Tom Bent, yes.
Leonard Diggins,
Leonard Diggins, yes.
and Amira Patterson.
Mayor Patterson, yes.
All right, so that carries. So that was the motion to waive the comment period. Does someone want to make a motion to also approve the amendment?
So I'll move that we recommend the MPO approve amendment number 2 to.
All right, thanks, Steve. Len?
Yeah, and I'll second that. And once again, thanks for sending me that table. It was the one file I did not download, and of course I'm gonna approve it, seeing that the advisory council got a nice big bump up. So thank you very much. I didn't realize that we were quite so needy, but hey, thanks.
Yeah, I also noticed that it said you're adjusting the compensations, so I hope you're giving Stella a raise.
Just for dealing with me.
Yeah, it's like a.
All right. So that's a motion and a second. Are there any other comments or questions? All right, seeing none, I'll call the roll. Massato OTP, yes. David Kozis,
David Kosis, yes.
Steve Olenoff,
Be all off, yes.
Tom Bent,
Tom Benton, yes.
Leonard Diggins,
Leonard Diggins, yes.
and Amira Patterson.
Amira Patterson, yes.
All right, so that passes as well. Is that what you need, Sri Lanka? Is there anything else on the amendment?
No, that's it on the amendment. So next week I will be presenting this to the board and requesting that they also waive the comment period. And in the event that they choose not to waive the comment period, it'll begin next Thursday or Friday, and I will be back here towards the end of the month to present the amendment for your endorsement. And so this is just in the case that the board decides not to waive the comment period.
Got it. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, Srileka. All right, with that, we can move on to members' items. Are there any items that members wish to share?
This is Tom. I just have one
Go ahead.
item. It's more technical. I had to log in with my phone today, and because my iPad, for some reason on the Zoom, it's looking for a like how the Zoom has numbers. You could ID number or whatever. And when you send it over, you're not sending that information over. You're just sending over the link. So it's funny. I can get in with my phone link just by going to the link, but on my iPad, it's not letting me. It's looking for whatever number that kind of goes with the link ID. So, and I know on most Zoom invites I get, it has all that information, like telephone numbers, all that stuff. So if that, I got to figure out why my iPad's acting up, and it only it's regular NPL meetings. It works fine, but subcommittee meetings, for some reason, it's doing this to me. So just a technical glitch. I'm not sure. I got to have my people here, see if it's on our end, which it probably is, but.
Okay. Are you using the link that's in the agenda or the one that's posted
Yeah.
on the calendar? Okay, the one that's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, we can take a look at that and see if.
Yeah.
Or maybe a
And
little,
I'm gonna check on our end too.
Okay.
maybe if you give RTAC a little bit more, maybe Stella could solve that IT problem too.
Another few thousand, yeah. All right. I think the only thing I'll plug is that MassDOT's Moving Together conference registration has opened for that. It's taking place on October 4th this year at the Sheraton Hotel, which is a change in location. So put the link for that in the chat in case anyone hasn't registered or is interested in attending that. Anything else? All right, seeing none, move on to the next item, which is next meeting. It's to be announced, is that right? Oh, I see a hand from Dan. Go ahead.
Hey, folks. I guess you're pretty much at the end of the meeting here. I live in Charlestown and I'm a community advocate here. We have some serious transportation issues and it looks like Everett area is going to be really imposing a lot of traffic upon us. It looks like there'll be a stadium that's going to be built in Lower Broadway, as well as an old fuel farm, which will be made into housing and mixed use. And that's going to really impact us greatly. We really need to think about how we can move people through us to the city core without impacting us dramatically. Because frankly, we're almost an island here, and there's bridges that go through us to get to us and then on the other side. So we really have a serious transportation conundrum here that we need to think about a little bit. I would like to see us look at the Orange Line, Spur Line going into Everett again. That was a long time ago, and there was a lot of issues related to it. But I think a lot of those issues can be now resolved because of additional funding from the developers that are going to be developing in this space. So I would implore you to look or develop some sort of strategy here to look into how we can make transit for Everett specifically better than a Silver Line. The Silver Line, I'm sorry to say, is going to kill us here. I'm not against the concept. It's just that a stretch bus on a very single lane road that has a lot of intersections just creates a gridlock condition. I saw that when I was in Germany. I used to live there, and all the time they would jam up all the traffic, and that would kill us here because we have to cross Rutherford to get through. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, I don't know if anyone from the T is on, or Amira, if that's something you'd be able to just pass along to some folks, but we can certainly make sure folks at the T get that message, Dan, and let you know if there's any response. So thank you. Definitely noted here. Any other questions, comments? All right. So the next meeting, Sri Lanka, is that, and like you said, depending on what the MPO does with the amendment, if they do choose to have a comment period, we'd have a meeting. But if they don't, it's sort of just to be determined, right? Just at the next time we need one.
Yes, that's correct. We may be working on another amendment or adjustment towards the end of this fiscal year, but any future meetings will be communicated.
Okay, great. All right. Well, with that, I'll ask for a motion and second to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Amira?
And I'll second that motion.
All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Abstentions. All right. I think without objection, we're adjourned. So thank you, everyone, and see you all next week, the MPO, and be in touch about the next meeting. Have a good
Take care, everyone.
rest of the day.